The review that was the stakeholders review that we sometimes refer to as the 360 review, which is not really an accurate word for it. It is commonly done. It's not unusual to do that for college presidents. It's even typically done every 3 to 5 years. Buzz Shaw, or Kenneth Shaw, who conducted it, and he is the president emeritus, or former chancellor of the University of Wisconsin and Syracuse University. He conducted our retreat that we had in July, and he and Gene hit it off really well. They had a good rapport, and he works for what's the name of the company? Anyway, when we contacted him about this, the entire process of doing this straight stakeholders review has to be very mutual. So the board and Gene had to agree on every single aspect of it, whether Ken would be a good person to do it, how many people would be involved, who would be interviewed, the timing of it, what the conditions of the interview would be, all of these things. So we submitted a list of names of people that we thought would be representative from different aspects of the school. No board members were part of those interviews. We wanted to make sure that it was not, weighted in terms of people who seemed to be pro-renewal or anti-renewal, anything like that. And President Nickel was given the opportunity to present his list, and the list became one list, of everybody in it. I don't believe there were any problems developing that list. Is that correct? There was pretty much agreement on who was to be interviewed. There were 41 people interviewed, all confidentially. The results were written up by Mr. Shaw, and as part of the agreement, President Rick Nickel was able to respond in writing. He was given several weeks, plenty of time that he felt was adequate time. All of this, none of this was pushed on him or pushed on us. It was all very mutual. So that he was able to respond, so that we could see his responses to the review if he felt something was unfair or skewed. I don't believe that he did. I felt my recollection from reading the very thick review was that it was conducted well and all of that. It's important to remember that this was just part of one of many parts of our overall look at the situation. It was very valuable, however. And I hope I'm not out of line in saying this, that it confirmed many of our concerns about some of the management, administrative, executive weaknesses that we had recognized. It also confirmed all of the strengths that we knew existed in our president. It's a confidential review. Can't say anything more than that, but I think, and I hope I didn't overstep the lines there. So that's any press. That's again off the record. I've already said that once today. But
right in front of the camera, you said.
Yeah, turn those cameras off. So it was just one part. Did that help answer your question?
Well, David, I think I want to give you more because I don't want to leave this room actually without not giving as much as I think I'm allowed to give you. Kathy said something I think is really important. The consultant advised and the design adopted was nothing would be done without mutual agreement. Anything that, if Gene objected to anything or we objected to anything, you couldn't do it. You had to agree to a willingness to do one at all. You absolutely had to agree on the list. The way we came to agreement about the list it took one day. The way we did it was categorical. This was the suggestion of the consultant, because the danger otherwise is people are trying to pick supporters and critics, and we thought that the worst thing that could happen is sit there trying to have a battle of balance by trying to find someone 100% that way and 100% that way. So the recommendation, which Gene accepted and I think even proposed, was categorical. So there were categories, collections of people based mostly on positions of responsibility that they held that would provide rich, detailed experiences in a daily working relationship. It was not meant to be just a general sample of opinion. So all the vice presidents, for example, would have been interviewed as a category, and there were students, and there were faculty, and there were local community leaders, there were legislators, there were donors, there were things like that. So that's how the list got created. So if we failed in the list, I would only say the list we both thought was right. And if it could have been bigger or less, I don't know.
In anthropology, and I took note of Mr. McWater's comment that, quote, we might see some things coming sooner. In other words, the Board of Visitors might see some things coming sooner. And I'd just like to respond to that. And I'd like to say that we faculty, we work here every day, students live here and study here. And it's clear to me that on balance, and I do use that carefully, on balance it was working for us in terms of diversity, other important initiatives, and integrity. And I think my question really to you is, I'd like to know if you do understand that, yes, we had love and affection for Jean Nickel, but the basis of why we're here today is not just about love and affection and charisma and a great guy, but because many, many of us feel that the future of the college has been harmed. And we feel my comment was in fact a question, and I can just repeat what I can remember. That is, I'd like to know that you do understand that in addition to feeling love and affection for Jean Nickel and for knowing that he was a charismatic individual, that we, many of us, feel very strongly that the decision taken has harmed the college. And is it the case that that is clear to you?
Well,
Thank you.
I think I'd encourage every board member to answer that. I think it would be disrespectful to you or trivializing your view to suggest that somehow you're a bunch of acolytes who are enamored by a charismatic, speaker. That would not be the faculty of William & Mary that almost plunked me out of here. That is a fair point to raise, because I think if that's all this were about, we would really be irresponsible. I also am not going to argue that the college has suffered an advantage. I'm also going to argue that we knew that it would. And I would argue that that frightened us, that worried us. It also caused us pause. It caused us to do more, to think more, to try harder to solve the problem. I may never persuade you, but I can tell you that a time comes where you have to decide whether you think things that you've identified matter, number one, and if they do matter, that you believe with some confidence with this person you have the ability and the will to remedy them. And you have to believe that you think on balance that to continue on this path could be, might be, will be potentially more damaging than the harder choice that you have to take. Time will tell. We might be wrong. But our judgment was that we were right. And I think that that would be proven in whether this school, this board, its president, its faculty, and its students make sure that the things that we've identified that we are positive, and we should be positive, make it a great, diverse international university or proclaim. We continue to drive and insist on those initiatives and those commitments. If we don't, the damage is done, and shame on all of us, including me, for allowing that flame to drop. We got a lot of work to do to recover from damage. I don't underestimate that at all. And it's painful, and it's hard, and we're deeply troubled by it. But right or wrong, we thought that that was going to be a short-term cost, and maybe even a longer-term cost, but a cost of something that we thought was otherwise necessary.